Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm sorry I'm running a little late today. My apologies. I suppose I could put my eyebrows on, but I don't have any eyebrows. Or should I say, let's see. Yeah, there's only half an eyebrow. I hope there's no people in the chat or watching today who have bigoted views about people with very little eyebrows. Because if you're that kind of person, this is probably not your channel. I'm just saying. Okay, so tonight I'm going to cover, in part, the extremely weighty topic of the Illegal Migration Bill. Oh crumbs. Okay, this is part one. It says of one, but it's not. I think the spell checker must have auto-corrected. It's supposed to say part one. Go figure. Now, because it's a very meaty topic and there's so many parts to it, so many issues to cover, I've been doing quite a bit of research and posting my evidence and stuff like that. Now I've had to break this video down. I imagine it will probably cover about 2 parts. As you know, my videos generally last about an hour, but if I was to cover everything that should be included as background knowledge to this video, then we'd probably be here for about 3 hours. I'm hoping to keep tonight's video to 1 hour. However, in that, I will say I'm going to be giving you quite a bit of backup knowledge, just in case you're not really aware of what the main issues are in regards to this illegal migration bill. But today we're going to start off with one of the things that came to a head, I would say, about almost 2 weeks ago. See, I've got notes. I've got notes because I know that I can go off on a tangent sometimes and I don't want to. Now, first thing I want to discuss is the situation with, so I think he's a knight, so Gary Lineker. Anyway, Gary Lineker. Now, Gary Lineker is a veteran footballer and a sports broadcaster. And he works for the BBC. Now, let's have a look. See, is this the one? Nope, that is not the page I'm looking for. Nope, that is not the page I'm looking for. Anyway, so I don't know what that is. Okay, I'm just going to put in here Gary Lineker's tweets. So basically, he explained that he was pulled from the BBC highlight show Match of the Day. This is a program that's been going on, I think, for my entire life, maybe for the last 50 years or so. This is a program that's been going on continuously the whole time. Now, this is what he said. He said, okay, right, the BBC was sentenced to meltdown last week or thereabouts in regards to a tweet that took place by Gary Lineker. Now, right, it began, there is no huge influx. We take far fewer refugees than other major European countries. This is just an immeasurably cruel policy directed at the most vulnerable people in language that is not dissimilar to those used by Germany in the 1930s. And I'm out of order. Those were his exact words. Now, a number of political commentators have come on and said that he basically called the UK government Nazis. That's not true because that's not what he said. And if he had actually gone in a bit deeper, then he could have also referred to the fact that the UK was also using similar language in the 1930s as well. That's a fact. If you query anything that I mention in this video, any of the backup information I give, please have a look in the description box. You will see that I have posted a number of articles and other information providing evidence that backs up the things that I'll be discussing and the things I'll be reading on in tonight's reading. Now, you'll see a long list. There's a long list. Okay, so that's just one part of it. Now, the evidence that 1930s Germany was talking about the Jewish population in dehumanizing terms. There's evidence for it. Does that mean that all the people involved in 1930s German politics were Nazis? No, it does not. There were a number of different parties. There was not just the Socialist Nazi Party. They called themselves socialists. They weren't. They were fascists. There was also the Communist Party, and there was also some other kind, I think, Christian party as well. So there were a number of different parties. As I said, if you want to know anything in greater detail, please have a look in the description box. There are a number of URLs to a number of sites for evidence. Now, was this language also being used in the UK as well in regards to Jewish asylum seekers at the time? Yes, it was. Now, this is important. This is vitally important to understand and know because of what happened after the war. Okay. Furthermore, in 1930s Germany, they were also had a policy that was referred to as the Madagascar Plan. In 1930s Germany, not only did they try to deport a number of Jewish people, I believe, from Germany and Austria to Poland, they also had a plan to deport French Jews to Poland, have them there in holding, and then deport them to Madagascar. So they had this scheme. Apparently, it was to take on, let's see, how many? There we go, the Madagascar policy. Okay, you can find this information in the Jewish Virtual Library, Nazis and the Jews, Madagascar Plan. This is from July the 3rd, 1940. The Madagascar Plan was a proposal for Jewish settlement devised by the Nazi regime in the late 1930s. On the 9th of December 1938, French Foreign Minister Georges Bonnet informed German Foreign Minister Joachim von Ribbentrop that in order to rid France of the 10,000 Jewish refugees, so these are people who had escaped Germany and Austria, it would be necessary to ship them elsewhere. At that time, the Nazi regime considered mass emigration to be the final solution to the Jewish problem. On the 5th of March 1938, the SS officer in charge of forced Jewish emigration, Adolf Eichmann, was commissioned to assemble material to provide the Chief of Security Police, ISPO, Reinhard Heydrich, with a foreign policy solution as it had been negotiated between Poland and France, i.e., the Madagascar Plan. This was temporarily shelved in the wake of the war. The project was taken up again after the fall of France in the summer of 1940. Eichmann prepared a detailed official report on the island of Madagascar and its colonization possibilities based on information gathered from the French Colonial Office. He added an evacuation plan calling for 4 million Jews to be shipped to Madagascar over a period of 4 years, and also advocated the creation of a police reserve as a giant ghetto. The plan was to be financed by a special bank managing confiscated Jewish property and by contributions exacted from world Jewry. You know, it's interesting. The closer you look at what Gary Lineker was saying, there are some obvious parallels here. And only one person picked up on it. The same lady who confronted Suella Braverman, the lady who's a Holocaust survivor, confronted Suella Braverman to her face on her use of language. Now, what is the use of language? Suella Braverman likes to talk about the invasion, that the asylum seekers are an invasion. Well, let's talk about the invasion. So that bit's done. And let's talk about the invasion. Asylum seekers and refugees. This is from the website Full Fact. The asylum backlog is far higher now than when Labour left government. So this is from 2010. The Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, told Parliament the current backlog bears no comparison to the situation in 2010 and that Labour will be found wanting in any comparison. Not true. I believe in 2010 there were, there are 166,261 people waiting to have their asylum claims decided at the end of December, according to the latest published data, including 160,900 waiting for initial decision. This is far higher than the total of 18,000 people in June 2010. Right. So when it comes to asylum claims, what they have done is, instead of people, I think they were processing something like, was it 20 either not every month? It could have been maybe 20 people a week, 20 asylum claims a week, or is it 20? It could have been 20 a month. Now they're processing maybe, is it about 4? Yeah. The figures are closer to about 4 a month. Yeah. The number of cases, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it, but this is easily fact checked. So that's another thing. So this is about the numbers, the deportations. I've gone through that. Yes. Now, in 1951, because of what happened during the Holocaust, Winston Churchill, yes, the Winston Churchill, together with other European nations, came together and they created the they call them the European Convention on Human Rights. The ECHR. Now, when people talk about the ECHR, and part of that was the Refugee Convention, which was created in 1951. Now, when people talk about the ECHR, they often believe that this is linked with the European Union. It is not. It precedes the European Union. And one of the biggest champions of it was Winston Churchill. He created this. And this is outside the EU jurisdiction. Now, in regards to the ECHR, this is also a signatory of it, or should I say, one of the major backers for it is from the United Nations. So there's actually a United Nations Refugee Convention and a 1967 protocol in regards to this. So what our government is proposing by this illegal migrants bill is to break international law. But it's to break international law in a very specific and limited way. Where have I heard that before? Oh yes, the Northern Ireland Protocol. How did that work out? Oh yes, not very well. So they had to put in a new framework called the Windsor Framework. Yeah, that's the one. So the idea that you can break international law in a very specific and limited way is the same as me walking into my local bank with a crowbar. I'm robbing the bank because I'm going to crack open one of those ATM machines and take the money. But I shouldn't be arrested because I haven't threatened any bank staff or bank tellers. I haven't, I haven't physically threatened anybody. I didn't attack anybody with the crowbar. I just walked up to the cash machine and I tried to open it with a crowbar. And I had a little bag there to take the money out. And I should not be arrested for robbery because I threatened no one. No one could possibly have felt that I had violent intent, even though I had a crowbar in my hand and I wasn't threatening to hurt them. Although, if they walked up to me and said, "Can you please stop doing that?" and I told them to F off, they might feel a little bit threatened. But, that's me breaking the law in a very specific and limited way. I shouldn't be arrested for that. No one should arrest me for that, right? Really? Okay. So, in regards now, let's have a look at the bill and its ramifications. Well, there's this Rwanda policy. The Rwanda policy. Right. What this bill basically boils down to, okay? What the bill basically boils down to. Let's bring that up, shall we? Okay. The illegal right. Okay. What the bill basically boils down to here is, let's put that in there. Okay, migration bill. Right. The bill comes down to, it makes a provision for Okay. And in connection with the removal from the United Kingdoms of persons who have entered or arrived in breach of immigration control, to make a provision about detention for immigration purposes, to make a provision about unaccompanied children, victims of slavery or human trafficking, blah, blah, blah. It basically means none of those people have any rights. That's what it means. That's what it means. Now, it means that if you come to this country not having used safe and legal routes, because there are none, and you land on the British shores of the UK in a boat, because you haven't entered the country in what they term as legally, this means that you have no rights. They have the right to arrest you and hold you in a facility. You do not have the right to appeal. You do not have the right to have your immigration, your asylum case heard. So you do not have the right to liberty. You're essentially treated like a criminal from the moment you set foot on British soil. Now, there are a number of issues with that. One of the main issues, as I said, is that the United Nations have a refugee convention, which means that any country in the world, if you're a refugee, doesn't matter where you come from, and you enter a country, you are not committing a crime unless you have not appealed for asylum. If you've appealed for asylum, by entering that country, going outside of the normal channels, you have not committed a crime. You are not a criminal. So that's what the 1951 Refugee Convention actually means. And the UN signed up to that. What that also means, however, is that if you are a victim of sex slavery, for example, any type of modern slave, if you are a child victim of human trafficking, you cannot go to the authorities and ask for help or assistance, because if you do that, that means that you are now a criminal who will not get your case heard. You have no protection under the law. So, looking at Rwanda, they have a record of appalling human rights issues. Appalling human rights issues. Now, the UK even condemned Rwanda for human rights abuses months before signing the deal to send asylum seekers there. So the UK already knew that Rwanda has a major problem with human rights, and they criticised them for their human rights policies. Right. Right. Apparently, there have been a number of dissidents, Rwandan dissidents, that have gone missing over the years. People who are on YouTube, poets, broadcasters, anyone who's criticised them, many of them have gone missing, never to be seen again. They have a record of intimidation and silencing dissidents. Furthermore, there are a number of people, not many, but there are a number of people who have sought shelter, refuge, asylum from Rwanda. In a statement by the UK's International Ambassador for Human Rights, In 2021, she expressed regret that Rwanda was not conducting transparent, credible, and independent investigations into allegations of human rights violations, including deaths in custody and torture. She added, "We were disappointed that Rwanda did not support the UK recommendation to screen, identify, and provide support to trafficking victims, including those held in government transit centres." Britain itself has granted protections to dozens of Rwandans over the past decade, with 69 given asylum on humanitarian protection between 2011 and 2021. Revealing the details of the plans from the Rwandan capital Kigali on Thursday. All right, this is from I think 2021 or 2022. But anyway, yes. So it will cost us about £120 million plus the cost of flights and accommodation, and would help break the. Yeah, this is some rubbish. This is just rubbish. Okay, so basically that lays out the fact that it's wildly expensive, 120 million, and they were originally supposed to take about 200 people. So that works out to about almost, not quite 200,000, but hundreds of thousands of pounds per person, plus the cost of the flights. It doesn't make sense. Question I have to ask now, with all that information I've given to you, and I understand it's been a lot, and I've barely covered some of the things that I've talked about today. I've barely covered this, but the question I have to ask now is, will this Illegal Migrants Bill, which is in contravention of the UNHR, of the ECHR, will it pass? Will it pass? Not the House of Commons, because it's already passed. It's in its second reading. But will it pass the House of Lords? And if it does pass the House of Lords, what are the ramifications for the UK going forward? Because there will be ramifications, I have no doubt about it. But what will those ramifications be? So let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at that. Okay. What will be the ramifications be? Okay, for starters, will the bill... Okay. Will the Illegal Migrants Bill pass in the House of Lords? Will it pass in the House of Lords? Will it pass in the House of Lords? Will the Illegal Migration Bill pass in the House of Lords? Pass. Will it pass in the House of Lords? Just going to shuffle until I feel that, yeah, I think that's on as well. Just shuffle. So, and I'm going to also look at the energy. What's the energy of the situation? The energy of the situation as it goes through the House of Lords. So I'm going to pick my energy cards. Today I'm using my Game of Thrones deck. Let's have a look and see. Let's have a look and see. Let's have a look and see. Okay, so 3 cards have made themselves available to me. There's 3 cards. They jumped out. They wanted to be picked. Okay, let's see. Okay, is it this one? No, that one's cold. No. That one. That's 4. 5. The cards are face down. I go by heat. It's over here somewhere. Right. Let's see. Let's feel. Okay, that one. Let me spread these ones out a bit more. Okay, I've lost count, but no. Is it that one? No, it's that one. Yes, definitely that one. How many cards is in there? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, one more card. One more card. This one, I think. Yeah, that one. That one. Okay. I'm using my Game of Thrones tarot for this tonight because I find it useful. But yes, so let's look at the energy. Okay, let me look at the energy of the Illegal Migration Bill through the House of Lords. What's the energy? How will this be received? How will this be received? What's the energy of it going through the House of Lords? How is it going to be received? How will the bill be received? So that's the first card I'm going to pick. How will the bill be received? Yeah, that one's better. Okay, so that's how the bill will be received. That's the first card. The second card is what is the energy? What will be the energy of the international world? The energy of the international world. What will be the energy of the international world to watching this unfold? What's the energy of the international world to watching this unfold? Yes, that card. And the last card I'm going to pick. What would be, will the UK suffer a penalty? What's the ramifications? How will we be viewed? What's the energy of the world looking at us? How will we see ourselves? How will we be viewed? What's the ramifications? What's the energy of the ramifications of this bill passing? Okay. The energy of the ramifications. The energy of the ramifications. No, it's around here. The energy of the ramifications. This, no, that one's cold. Cold, cold. Warmer. Cold. That one. That one. Okay. 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 Oh, diddly okay. Yeah, I'm just going to go whole hog. Other issues what Spirit wants me to know about this situation. What does Spirit want us to know? I'm going to just pick one card about the situation. Or should I pick two? Pick two? I think Spirit wants me to pick two cards. Okay, give me two cards in regards to the situation from the viewpoint. Boom. I didn't even finish answering the question. Give me a next card in the situation from the viewpoint of the world. The viewpoint of the world. The viewpoint of the world. Oh, no. The viewpoint of the British government. The viewpoint of the British people. The majority of the British people. Okay. Give me an insight on the viewpoint of the majority of the British people in regards to this immigration policy. Okay. I've asked an interesting question and no card gives you everything. So, first question I asked, what was the energy? How would this be greeted in the House of Lords? You can't make this shit up. Light attribute of victim prevents you from letting yourself be victimized or victimizing others. The shadow attribute, which I think is in play here, playing the victim for positive feedback in the form of pity, inability to maintain personal boundaries. How will it be greeted or seen in the House of Lords? They will see the government as putting themselves as the victim. I can't say any more plain than that. They will see the government as putting themselves forward as the victim. Second question I asked, how will the world look at the UK if this passes through the House of Lords? If anyone thinks that when I pull these cards, I'm seeing the cards, does this face look like I just saw the cards? I didn't see the cards. All the cards are face down. I pick the cards, I go by heat and intuition, and I pick the cards. Always. 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 I never, even for a second, one, I didn't know that that card was in this deck. That's number one. And number two, I would never have thought that in relation to this, I would have picked that card. But as I said, I didn't even know it was in the deck. I knew the same time you knew. Four, the light attribute. Fearlessly revealing emotion, helping people laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy. Shadow attribute. Using human to wound rather than liberate. Denial of your emotional truth. Neither are true in this case. The rest of the world is looking on the UK like we're a bunch of idiots. You don't need to intuitively. I mean, these cards are so blatantly in your face. There is no need for me to try to intuitively read these cards. I don't need to. I don't even need to read what it actually says as a description for the light attributes and the shadow attributes in this case. The title of the card says everything. The UK, this government seeing itself as a victim, the rest of the world seeing us as a bunch of fools. What's the third card? I have no idea. I'm sure it just gets worse. The ramifications of taking this course of action if the legislation passes the House of Lords. What are the ramifications? I'm scared to look. I'm actually scared to look. Student. This one, the writing means something. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. Shadow attributes. It's student. Arrogance in the pursuit of destructive knowledge. Unwillingness to translate knowledge into action. There are clear solutions that can be used. This government does not want to use them. The ramifications of pushing this through, we're going to be schooled. That's the ramifications of pushing this through. I mean, what is it about? It is the unwillingness to translate knowledge into actions. I think looking at this, I can see a huge tens of thousands of people being held in limbo by the British government. If we think the cost of the hotels, etc., is excessive now, it's between 5 to 7 million per day. The cost that will be incurred by this policy will be huge. And we will be schooled, probably by the UN and the European Convention on Human Rights. We will be schooled. I heard a threat that the EU might well decide to rip up any policy, any deal with the UK if they decide to go ahead with this. Really, most of it's performative, but let's have a look at the cards. I said, what does Spirit want us to know about the underlying issues? I'm not sure if I really want to pull those cards right now. Okay. No, I said, how will the UK see itself and how will the world see us? I think I kind of answered that question. Oh, we think we're so generous, embracing, really? And the world sees us as open, but is this a joke? I'm going to have to look at that later. I'm not sure what question I asked, but I know I asked a question. Just not sure what question it was. I'll have a look at this later. Let's have a look and see what the tarot has to say. First card I have up is Page of Spears. Could be good news or bad news, depending on the following cards. Second card I have up is my Rishi Sunak card, the Emperor. But this could also be about control. Controlling the news, controlling the narrative. That's what a lot of this is about. But the whole world is watching. The whole world is watching. I asked the question, I believe, would this pass through the House of Lords? This is news and controlling the narrative, and this is the whole world watching. In the past, there was a lot of anxiety about this issue. There was a lot of anxiety about this issue because they needed a way to get people fired up to vote for them. It was seen as useful. It's like having this is a way of controlling the cultural wars. This is a way of controlling the population. This is a way of controlling the population. This is where the control comes in. And the wolf is the voter. The voter doesn't turn on them. Caging the wolf. Yes, it's in part tarot, but this is also in part intuitive. Crowning the reading is the Empress. Is the Empress a person or is the Empress a situation? Abundance. 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 An abundance from overseas. Abundance from overseas. Trade. In the immediate future, Jeremy Hunt. In the immediate future is Jeremy Hunt. I asked, would this pass? This is about keeping their seats. I was correct. I was correct. I was correct. This is about keeping their seats. That's the 7th card in the place of mind. They feel that if they go ahead with this immigration bill, even though it's a farce and they know that they will have a lot of problems trying to pass this through international courts because it's performative. This is so they can keep their seats and they can keep people voting for them. That's what this is. This is performative. But the environment is one of truth cutting through the bull. The environment is one of truth cutting through the bull. And also, I want to say, bad news. Don't look good to me. But there is truth, and the truth is not kind. The truth is cutting. The truth is cutting. I wouldn't be at all surprised, and I've said this in the description, or if I haven't said it in the description, maybe I meant to say it in this description. News coming out. You know what? Another thing. Yes, another thing. Looking at this page of spears, at first I thought, is this bad news? Because pages are messengers. Or is it just news, information? But now I see it all lined up. I see the 9 of Swords. I see the Page of Wands crossed by the Emperor, which I said is controlling the narrative. In front of it is the King of Coins, which is the money man, the one who counts every penny, and that's in the immediate future. So there's going to be a question here in regards to cost, because it's incredibly expensive. But here we have the Ace of Swords right next to the King of Coins. So there's going to be an issue with truth. The truth of the cost is far higher. Apparently it could cost up to £1.4 billion to bring it through this Rwanda plan. That's a lot of money. So yeah, that is truth. Cutting through the bull, the cost. That's the environment. That's what's going through people's minds, the truth. Hopes, fears, concerns. Knight of Cups. I'm seeing offers of support, but I think this night is full of crap. This is tarot, but I'm also reading this intuitively. I think this knight is full of crap. I think he's a false knight. Especially coming after the Ace of Swords. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This policy, this legislation, it's illegal. It's performative. It will not stand up to the international courts. This is why, to the world, we look foolish. We look dumb. And the consequences of pushing forward with this, we're about to get schooled. We're about to get schooled due to our arrogance in pursuit of destructive knowledge and unwillingness to translate knowledge into actions. People will be pointing out everywhere that if the UK government really, truly, genuinely wanted to do something about the people coming across on boats, the first thing they would do would be to open up a processing centre in France. This is a third. This is the outcome card for the tarot. This story is only a third of the way through. There is much, 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 much more to come on this. So it doesn't matter if it passes through the House of Lords. This situation is not finished. Not by a long shot. Not by a long shot. International courts are going to stop this. I don't need to be intuitive to say that. I already know. The whole situation is performative. The thing I want to draw people's attention to, though, is there's a deal. There's a deal about abundance. There's also a concern about people keeping their seats. I see people in the past making a calculation in regards to the culture war. They wanted to cage the beast, and they think that they can control the beast by controlling the narrative. They don't realize that by putting the beast in a cage, that is the whole asylum seekers, and we should hate asylum seekers. When you go to pet it or feed it, it can bite your hand off. They can't control this monster. And in the end, they think it's about abundance. They think it's about abundance and making money overseas. That's why UK legal migration from people who are getting jobs, because we have a worker shortage here. That is up hugely. And once their supporters recognize that that's up hugely, there's going to be a major problem with that. And it comes down to money. There's a truth coming out about money. There's a truth coming out about money. You know, it's funny. This is the EU. This is the EU. Oh, sugar. Yes. I've been saying for the longest time, ever since Rishi became Prime Minister, he's going to do a major deal with the EU. He's going to be doing a lot of deals with the EU. He's going to be doing a lot of deals because he wants to get trade back up with the EU. So hear this. if he pushes forward with this whole migrants and illegal immigration bill, illegal migrant bill, he can push forward. He can push forward for it. But if they even make an attempt to really properly implement it, he could lose his deal with the EU because he's trying to increase trade with the EU. And that's where the truth comes out. That's where Hunt comes in. This is where Jeremy Hunt comes in. And this is where the bullshit and truth in the environment comes in. The truth coming out in the environment. And it's not nice. It's not nice. This isn't over. This isn't over. I've got the Empress next to the Priestess. This isn't over. He's actually, yeah. Abundance from the EU is being jeopardized. And, yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say they're going to change the French holding centre into a processing centre in this government. But it is possible to do it another time. The money, though, the money. The money. Yeah. I think there's going to be an issue with the centre they're going to set up in France. It's going to look all great on the at the moment, it looks all shiny and new, but there's going to be an issue with it, and there's going to be an issue with it in regards to the money. There'll be an issue with it. There's going to be some truth that comes out about the whole situation, I think. And this story isn't even, it's only part way through. There's so much more. There's so much more. There's so much more. This is the EU crowning the reading, and this is the world watching at the base. There's so much more. Now, I asked the question, how are the UK going to view themselves? How are the government? That's the thing. That's the question I asked. Now I remember. I said, how are the government going to view themselves passing this legislation? They think they're nice. They think they're nice. Can you believe this? These people think that they are kind and generous. That's why they're so happy to say the most awful things. How do the UK people feel? How do they feel in themselves in regards to the whole asylum issue? They feel that they're open people. They feel that they're an open nation. And I feel that they don't feel that the government reflect that. As things go forward, they're not going to feel that the government reflect that. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. I'm 4 minutes over, but I'm going to try and be super quick. Super quick. Okay. So, all right, Spirit, is As for the outcome of the whole situation overall, well, maybe not the outcome of the whole situation, because this is such a huge situation. Okay. What message would you like to leave the viewers with after having watched this video, Spirit? Holy Spirit, what message would you like to leave the viewers with after having watched this video? What is the message? What's that saying? Healing the heart. Healing the heart. Let's see what message. And this is from my deck, Oracle of the Seven Energies. Okay. Key concept: healing, making amends, the willingness to release past pain, being responsible and accountable, taking time to get healthy, renewal and rebirth after suffering. When you are wounded emotionally, you need time to regroup and find your center. You may have recently endured a breakup or betrayal, lost someone close to you, or lost an affiliation that you gave too much power to. Perhaps you are watching someone go through a difficult time and feel bad that you can't help them. Maybe you're still not over a past disagreement. No matter the cause of this heartache, deep healing is called for. This happens on its own timetable and can never be rushed. The path to healing the heart centers on reciprocity, the flow of giving and receiving. Sometimes wounding occurs because we've become too dependent on another, and this is accompanied by the desire to manipulate or control an outcome. Both wounding and healing usually begin within, not from the outer conditions of our lives. We often believe we can be wounded only by others, but we do more damage to ourselves in the self-sabotaging way we think and believe. It is important to take steps to heal yourself and become willing to release the pain of the past, which can be tempting to revisit. It's time to take responsibility for your part in this healing journey. Look for ways you can help yourself and others. Are you willing to make amends if needed? Or conversely, accept someone where they are without trying to influence their growth and process? Healing the heart in all its aspects is your priority now. Nothing else matters. Only beauty and goodness will come as a result. I think it's quite clear. A lot of that had to do with the EU. Healing the heart. The EU and the UK recently got divorced. The UK is finding out, quite sharpish, that actually, it is not fair, accurate, or even reasonable to say that the EU need the UK more than the UK needed the EU. That is patently untrue. The UK walked away from a marriage to a woman with huge tits, a bright, sunny smile, and loads of money. And now the UK is isolated, cold, with only its hand for company. Look, man, she might not have been the best looking woman in the world, but with a bit of makeup and some heels, you know, whatever. Some people might say this is misogynistic, but I'm putting the UK in the place of a male here for a good reason. I mean, the woman had great breasts, a sunny smile, and money. And you left all of that to sit by yourself in a studio flat, which is a nice way of saying bed sit, where you're having to use a key meter and you've literally not got a pot to piss in because you're broke. The only thing that keeps you company is your hand. Dude, was divorcing your wife a good idea? I'm just asking. And then there's the healing and recovery from that. And then there's also the situation with the boat people. Because we like to say, stop the boats, as if anyone's really got a problem with boats. They don't like to say, stop the people coming on the boats. They like to say, stop the boats. Personally, I've never really had a problem with boats. I don't know anyone who has. Maybe if someone asked you to get into a boat and you were looking at the boat and wondering, is it seaworthy, and looking at the sea and saying, I can't swim, then maybe you might have a problem with boats. But generally speaking, people don't have a problem with boats. They don't like to say the people in the boats because that humanizes you to think about what these people have been through to get in the boats. So that's another thing. Reciprocity, kindness, the fact that people who escaped from Afghanistan are going to be coming to these shores and are going to be treated like criminals, when in their own countries they would be murdered because they helped the British forces in Afghanistan, and they were promised by the British government that there were 20,000 places for them in the UK. But there were no safe and legal routes for them. Anyway, I've done the reading on this particular aspect of the Illegal Immigration Bill. Part 2 will probably come next week, Monday, where I will look at the safe and legal routes. I'll be looking at that in detail, the types of people coming over, the issues with modern slavery, where they're going to house these migrants, the cost, the shortage of workers and increased migration. The Home Office's deliberate slowdown of claims, number of migrants, the optics and the solutions. That will be in part 2 next week. So for everyone who tuned in to watch me, I would like to say good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Thank you so much for joining me. Please comment, please like, please share, Please subscribe if you would like your own personal reading with me. Please feel free to contact me at showintheends@gmail.com. All my conclusions are allegedly and in my opinion, but they are always based on evidence. Yes, I am a giant nerd, and I'm proud. I'm nerdy and proud. I see that if you only believe in science and empirical evidence and have no belief in spirituality and intuition, you are in the dark, coming from a place of could I, and could I, not a place of should I, and using your empathy and your heart. If you only come from a space of spirituality with no logic and no reason, you are also in the dark, because anything anyone says to you, you will believe. With that, laters. I shall see you all either on Friday or next week, Monday. Toodaloo.